Right now, he should probably leave, but his desire for material enrichment and a potential sex encounter is standing in the way of his need for self-preservation. It is a fascinating juxtaposition.
Dude, I'm just fucking with you!
Hi, I'm Dom Griffin, I'm a film critic, and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and film culture and you like to see people pick it apart, please consider subscribing. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day alone or with someone or like whatever you're into. And I wanted to try to make another romantic themed video for the holiday. And what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than by watching a movie that is a vanity project for a woman financed by her husband. That's right, today we're going to be talking about Me, You, Madness, written, directed by, and starring Louise Linton, the wife of former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Also, it features Gossip Girl's at Westwick. If you have not heard about this film, Steve Mnuchin's wife, Louise Linton, who is a former actress and model that I had ultimately never really heard of until he got into the Trump administration and they had those super diabolical looking pictures of them together at the Treasury and stuff, you've seen them. She has written and directed her first ever movie and stars in it, and it is one of the most unique, weird experiences you're going to have at the movies all year, bar none.
This place has everything.
Indulgent opulence masquerading as comical self-flagellation, Gossip Girls at Westwick dancing for an extended period of time to I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters, painfully overwritten voiceover narration, a ton of luxury vehicles, and, of course, a twist ending that makes the last season of You look like Jane Campion's Bright Star. I know a lot of other critics have savaged this movie relentlessly, because that's just a thing that happens with critics. Sometimes they'll pick a movie and everyone just piles on. If it sucks, it's oh, it sucks? Let's just murder it into the ground. And I've probably been accused of that in the past, but it's not something I genuinely enjoy doing with movies. In this case, I wanted to see it just because it looked so weird. It seemed like such a weird movie for someone to make, and I'm glad I did. I'm actually happy I watched this movie. It's not very good, but as far as bad movies go, it is definitely in that sort of sweet spot of so bad it's almost good. I say almost good because it's just such a crazy movie that just throws so much insanity at the wall that eventually little residual shards actually kind of stick, where it almost feels worth doing. Spoiler alert, I am essentially giving this movie the same score and rating on Rotten Tomatoes that I gave Dan Gilroy's Velvet Buzzsaw, which is a 5 out of 10, which is I think the lowest I feel like I can give and still give it the little tomato recommendation, because it's not a good movie, but I still think you should see it. Okay, so what is it about? Well, Linton plays Catherine, a rich hedge fund manager who is also a serial killer. She tells us all about herself in hyper-detailed, trying to be clever so hard it hurts narration, structured around her daily schedule, like one of those hustle motivation IG pages full of quotes about waking up at 5 a.m. every day. But it's all a preamble for a narrative about Catherine renting a room in her big house out to Tyler, a scruffy himbo played by the former Chuck Bass. Tyler doesn't need a place to live. He's a grifter and a thief there to case the place, which Catherine knows about because this entire deal is just a pretense for her to kill him. But things get complicated when they hook up and develop the closest thing to genuine feelings these two sociopaths could harbor for one another, turning what initially seems like a cat and mouse game of intrigue into a fourth wall breaking, near insufferable chat fest about a pair of star-crossed lovers. It is both a sight to behold and one of the most irritating viewing experiences I've had in quite some time. In the plus column, the movie has such eye-searingly sharp visuals, sort of like you're watching a remake of American Psycho produced by Brazzers. It's dynamic to a fault, but first-time director Linton at least keeps the viewer engaged with an impressive visual language that's not quite as macho male gaze as Michael Bay, but also not dissimilar from his earlier commercial music video work. It is also, I must admit, somewhat more clever than I expected, but still not as clever as it thinks it is. I know some of this is that she's attempting to send up a number of genres, but more than anything, this is a movie made by a 40-year-old woman that feels like a movie made by an irritating 22-year-old male film student. If that's the point, then kudos, but I'm not so sure it is. The crux of my issues with the movie, and why I have to say it's so bad it's good instead of just good, is that Linton wrote this knowing she would star in it, and when people write for themselves, they tend to go a little bit overboard. It's why Randall has so many crazy lines in the first Clerks movie. Kevin Smith wrote the part for himself. But Linton writes Catherine the way former MMA fighter turned WWE superstar Ronda Rousey used to write her own promos, putting so much effort in trying to sound badass and smarter than everyone else in the room that they sound like a caricature instead of a believable person. Obviously, a movie this cartoonish doesn't have to rely too much on verisimilitude, but it would have been nice. My main beef with the movie is the non-stop 80s needle drops. Yes, Catherine in her narration tells us that she loves 80s music. I love 80s music and the iconography, but by the film's halfway mark, I was so goddamn sick of hearing all these songs I wanted to swanton bomb off a bridge. Also, Linton herself is no great acting find, but she works circles around Westwick, who I must assume is only in this movie because his Me Too scandals have dried up any work higher on the food chain than this vanity piece. But also, he's just considerably less talented than he seemed on Gossip Girl. It doesn't help that his character is so thinly drawn, we're meant to believe this high-functioning nutjob beauty queen would be impressed by his ability to fix a bicycle, or his knowledge of video games when deciding on stock decisions. Like, they have just enough chemistry to make the film's strange third act work, but only if you, the viewer, put in the effort of stretching to believe it. And now, because like I don't know how to actually talk about all these other little things that happen in the movie, I'm just going to show you guys sort of like a contextless montage of just weird moments in the movie that popped me because they were just so weird. Like, they're not always funny or like smart or creative, but they just there's something about them.
Tụi trẻ bây giờ ăn không ngồi làm biếng lắm, lazy, nó chỉ thách thôi chứ không có giếp. Làm như ăn tiền trơn à. Nó tối ngủ ăn không không à ha.
Did nobody ever tell you to turn off your location services, sweetheart?
Well, yeah, but then how could I geotag on Snap and Insta?
What? It's just the tip.
Oh my god. Do you see how she just did that? I said that to her earlier, in a sexual context referring to my penis. And now she's repeating my own line back to me, right here in this new context referring to this tiny pitchfork situation. Whoever wrote this is a fucking genius.
And there it is. The gaping chasm between us. The mind-blowing ignorance and stupidity of the later millennial generation. I think I'm going to disembowel this kid and eat his spleen.
Like, as far as weird, bloated vanity pieces go, Me You Madness is like pretty entertaining. It's honestly the sort of movie I'd imagine like Max Landis directing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't actually feel real in any way, but the artifice of it is so strange and opaque that it almost becomes like its own kind of art. Like, there's something about it. No, I didn't like it. Yes, I thought about turning it off, but I didn't because it was just so weird. It was so concentrated, strange. My biggest issue with it is I think that Linton sort of thinks she made like this weird, self-aware like critique or something, and really it's just weird. Like, if this was like a porno, it would probably win like a lot of AVN awards. It would be like an extremely impressive thing. But it's like not. It's just like a regular movie. And as such, some of the acting just is not quite there. I would probably watch another Louise Linton movie if I had the choice. I would hope Westwick wasn't in it because he's just like not as good. But like, she herself is just such a weird figure. Like, they could make sequels to this movie. Like, I don't think they should, but like they could, and I would at least think about watching them. And that, I think, is saying something. So yeah, I don't know, now that Mnuchin's out of like politics sort of and like back to his day job of like financing movies and stuff, maybe we'll see some new movies from this trastropiece auteur. And maybe that's not the worst thing. I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. Do I think you should watch this movie? I do. Like, I know it sounds bad maybe and looks kind of bad, but I think you should do it because like, it's a unique experience, and I'm all for unique experiences. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I put out new videos. If you have any thoughts about this film, please tell me about them in the comments below. But yeah, check out Me You Madness. It's the Valentine's Day movie for this year, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you're all staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other, wearing your masks. I will see you all in the next one.